Hey Chiefs, what's up? It's Kev here for another great weekly Chief Chat. If you're brand new to the Chief Chat, welcome. We have so many new members this week, and I'm really thrilled to have all you guys inside of Copy Chief. Many of you going through the Fast Wins copy course, and every Friday, almost every Friday, I'll be out of town next week. But if I'm in town, we're rocking every Friday here at 1 p.m. Eastern Time for the Chief Chat. And this is where a lot of cool things happen. We cover some of the best threads of the week and dive a little deeper into them. Of course, I'm happy to take your questions live. Anything that's on your mind or something you need looked at or reviewed. I do flash critiques of websites and sales pages in here. We try to keep it to 30, 40 minutes so that we can respect everybody's time, and both live and on the replay. And occasionally we bring on a special guest, and that is the case this week. It's sort of a last minute thing, but my friend Andrew Locke, who's a new member of Copy Chief and whom I just had on the podcast, which will air in September, is someone I respect very much in this business. Andrew is a pioneer in web TV. What we call video now on the internet, and of course, lots of people are using video, and there's a wide range of styles. You can be completely raw, as I often am, even half dressed at times in my videos. Oftentimes, I'll make videos just from my car and post them straight up to Facebook or YouTube with no editing or anything. And those resonate, that works. But what Andrew does is special because it's much more of a production, and the quality of his show, his videos, is second to none. Anything I've seen online, certainly in our space of internet marketing. So Andrew just released his brand new sort of a relaunch of his Help My Business website and web TV show. I believe this week, and I finally got to have a look at it yesterday, and I was so blown away that I just invited Andrew to come on today and be our guest and answer some questions. So hopefully you guys have had a chance maybe to see the link. Go to Andrew's show. I don't want to send you there now because I want to bring Andrew on and do this Q&A, but the link is helpmybusiness.com. I guess I could type it into the chat here, or maybe somebody else will do that for me. Here we go, helpmybusiness.com. And it's, I know some of you are going to go start watching the video, but try to resist. Even though I hope that many of you got my message inside of Copy Chief and did check out his video before this so that you can ask questions about how he does it and makes it look so good and so entertaining. One of the bonds that Andrew and I have are a love for comedy, and Andrew's a very funny guy, and like I am, also a student of comedy. What makes it work? What are the writing techniques? And I recommended a few books to Andrew, and some of them, he found some others that I hadn't even read, and I know he's getting a lot of use out of. So we're going to talk a little bit about comedy writing. Where does humor fit in to business and to marketing? What's that line you ride between entertaining and being taken seriously as an authority? A line I may want to find a little better sometimes based on my videos. So let's rock it out. I'm going to bring Andrew on now. Before I do that, real quickly, just want to say hello again to all the new members. And I want to thank the existing members for all the great help they've given inside the Fast Wins modules. A lot of people posting up their tasks, their exercises, and the show your work sections over there. Of course, I welcome all the existing members to go through the course fresh and get feedback as well. But special shout out to a lot of the members who have been giving great help and advice over there. John Stephen Carter, Wendy, Marcin, of course, and many of you just really jumping in and sharing your knowledge and just being another set of eyeballs. You know, it isn't about knowing the most or being the perfect expert. That's what makes Copy Chief great, is that we're a community of people who are always looking to improve. And in that spirit, you guys have been, you know, offering a lot of support, and I really appreciate it, man. It's been wicked cool. So all good stuff. And my man John trying to help me get my hips in shape. Another man helping me loosen my hips. I don't know what that means to us. But all right, so let me bring on Andrew, invite as a speaker. And Andrew, that will give you, you may be probably familiar with Hangouts, aren't you? And you'll just have to choose your camera. There you are. Boom. So on top of it. How are you, my friend?
Good. Yeah. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Thanks for being with us. And man, again, I've already told you via Voxer, but just blown away by the new show. So happy about it. And man, I just laughed out loud so many times, just even in the first 3 minutes.
Oh, that makes me happy. So I was going to ask you, did you run out of tiles, or were you influenced by stealth bombers in your childhood?
No, you know what that is? That is, you know, I'm taking a tip from landing page conversions. You know, they always have the little subtle arrow looking at the
okay. That's deep.
So you can't try not to look at me. You can't look. You can't look away from me right now. Your eye has no choice. I need all the help I can get for people to pay attention to me, Andrew.
Very good.
You're a big arrow. So congrats on the new site. I have a lot of questions. I want to make them relevant. But first of all, how's it feel, and how has the response been to the relaunch?
The response has been amazing. I mean, hundreds of comments. You know, I've been doing the show for 7 years, but I had scaled back. I had basically taken 2 years off. You know, kind of got a little bit burnt out. And but you know, I'm ever the entrepreneur. I couldn't stay away, and you know, just kind of wanted to make it fresh and you know, bring some new energy to it. So yeah, I mean, I feel really good about it. It's, you know, as we can talk a lot about it, it's a lot of work to put together something like this. But you know, if you really want to stand out in the crowd, you have to do something different. You know, there's tons of podcasts out there. You know, some of the most biggest podcasts in recent years are audio and their interviews. And because of that, people see that. And then you get all these like proliferation of Me Too podcasts, you know, just the exact same formula, people asking the same questions. And, you know, you just have to, if you really want to get noticed, you got to stand out from the crowd. And so for me, I was able to leverage my background in video production because I knew how to do that, to create a good quality show, you know, visually, and then drawing on the things that are, you know, inherent in who I am, which is, you know, a natural love for comedy and very dry British humor, you know, incorporating those elements. So that's really the fundamental of all of this, is drawing on what you as an individual can bring to the table. Like, because, you know, you and me and everyone, we're the best one of us that there is in the world. And so, you know, we each individually have unique aspects that we can draw on. And so it's very tempting to kind of look at what someone else is doing and say, well, I'm going to do that same thing. But rarely is that a good idea, because, you know, it's, you know, you can be influenced, but if you just copy what someone else is doing, then it's not going to be true to who you are as a unique individual.
Well, that's a great point. And, you know, it's something that is rampant in Hollywood too, right? I mean, every
oh my goodness,
pitch session it's Mad Max meets Bridesmaids or something. You know, it's always like some mashup, and it's like,
you know, simply hit one genre of film, you know, someone else, we're going to do that too. You know, you get two earthquake movies out at the same time, or two volcano movie. I mean, yeah, that's how it is, you know?
Right. Yeah. And so, but you know, it reminds me of the fact that, like you said, we have the freedom to try different stuff and to be individual, right? Because look, let's face it, two great things about homegrown video, so to speak, you know, self-producing is one, you get to practice all you want without anyone ever seeing it. You know, doesn't involve an entire crew of people.
Right.
It's not expensive at all. You know, when people, I coach people a lot who are really apprehensive about being on camera, and I say, man, you can practice for free all you want, and no one ever has to see it, because part of it is just looking into that little glass eye and getting cozy with that. I mean, that's just like step one.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you know, I cringe at my first episodes going back 7 years. I mean, you know, they're pretty dreadful, but you know, you got to start somewhere. I was always traditionally behind the camera. I never thought in a million years I'd be in front of the camera. Right. But, you know, I am passionate about the message. I am passionate about the topic. And so that's really, I guess, the key is, you know, if you have that natural enthusiasm for it, that will come across. You'll find your audience. You know, if your style is very, you know, reserved and, you know, you're a hermit, you know, you can still find people that resonate with that.
Right.
You know, there's something for everybody online. And although I've chosen to do a very high quality production, it's not about that. It's about the fact that, you know, ultimately what I always say to people is just use video. It's the most engaging tool out there. It's the closest thing to be in there. It's the closest thing to that one-on-one connection for people to get to know, like, and trust you, because it engages more senses. And, you know, it's not going away. This is not a fad or a trend. It's just the way of the future.
I love that segue. Let's dive into a little bit how the opportunity has changed, you know, as a money-making opportunity. I mean, you started this 7 years ago.
Yeah.
Nobody was, that I can think of, was doing, you know, high production value, regular shows like you were. Weekly shows, right? I mean, like, you know, like you said, it's a ton of work just to produce, to write, then to perform, then to edit. I mean, it is a ton of work. And so, you know, what does it look like now? And you know, everybody wasn't, like, YouTube wasn't an entertainment channel 7 years ago. And now, you know, the top 3 influencers of teens are all YouTube stars, right? So
absolutely. A lot, you know, and they're getting millions and millions of views.
So the entire spectrum is changed and completely flipped on its head. So what are the biggest changes in the 7 years that you've been doing this financially? What's the opportunity?
I think one of the biggest shifts is the technology, because it's now much, much easier than ever before. You know, I mean, really down to the fact that, you know, as an example, with your cell phone and Periscope, anybody can be a broadcaster. I mean, that's a complete revolution. When I first started out, it was really difficult to get sponsors to understand the concept. I mean, you had to try and explain, well, you know, this is what internet video is, and this is what a web TV show is. Yeah. And you know, a lot of times you kind of get blank looks, or, you know, people kind of thinking that it was a fad or something, you know, crazy. But so that's changed a lot. I mean, now you don't need to explain it to people. I mean, you know, most people have a Hulu subscription in the States, or Netflix, and, you know, so the game has changed as far as that. So that's a big one, because, you know, again, even if you're just starting out, the most beautiful thing about these shows, you know, I call it a show because it's a regular, you know, it's episodic content. It's released on a schedule. It's not just a random video that I upload to YouTube. It's, you know, it's like a traditional TV show, but shorter. Yeah. So the biggest thing about these shows is that for the first time in history, we have the ability to speak to a niche audience directly in the format of a TV show. And it's revolutionary, because on regular TV, you can't do that. It's just not viable. It's not cost effective. The audience wouldn't be big enough. You know, with the internet, there's no geographic boundaries of countries. And so, you know, if your passion is something very obscure, you can find a decent audience, you know, with a show. And so when people have this choice now, you know, they can either watch, let's say, you know, in the case of business, they could either watch a general business show on TV, or they could watch a TV show specifically for their industry. Let's say they're a plumber, for example, you know, the show for plumbers. Which one are they going to choose? The answer is obvious. They always will pick the niche show. And that's the magical thing about this, is that we have this ability now to connect directly with our target audience in a very interactive and powerful way. And when the right companies understand that opportunity, and that's, you know, the number of those is increasing very rapidly, that they totally get it, because, you know, that's what they're trying to do, is they're trying to reach their right demographic. It's very difficult to do that in newspapers and magazines and so on, but with a web TV show, it's 100% match for the demographic that they're trying to reach. So just through sponsorship alone, I mean, for example, you know, with my show, for one sponsor, I can charge $3,000 an episode, 4 episodes a month, you know, 1 a week. You know, that's a good chunk of change just from that one revenue stream of sponsorship.
Fantastic. And what is it like? What's required to lure a sponsor? Is it purely numbers, or is it obviously there's some relationship there, but what's it take?
In fact, I help students to get sponsors even before their show is launched. And the way that I do that is to focus on the fact that there is this you know, they're targeting a very specific niche demographic. And so, you know, you want to be reasonable with your numbers. You might want to start out, you know, charging, you know, $250 or $500 an episode, something like that. So, you know, focus on the targeted match of viewers with the content that you're providing. And another big benefit for sponsors is that that episode or those episodes that you create, they're going to be around for years unless you delete them, you know. So that's a big difference to a magazine ad or a newspaper ad that's here today, gone tomorrow. Sponsors will continue to get leverage on the episodes for a long, long time. And so it's, you know, it's really, once you start getting into the kind of nitty-gritty details of what the value proposition is, it's really good value for them. Yeah. Actually, one thing I do recommend too is, as a starting out way, is to approach people who you already have some type of relationship with. Maybe, you know, a product or a service that you use, not necessarily, you know, someone you know personally, but something that you use and like and enjoy, that you can naturally you know, that you can naturally recommend. So, you know, for copywriters, you might say, you might approach Bic. I use Bic pens. So, you know, I'm being facetious, but you know, you get the idea. I would never use any other pen than a Bic pen for writing.
Right.
And so
I'm a hack with any other instrument. Yeah.
Right. So, you know, you get the idea, is approach people that you are genuinely, or companies that you're genuinely passionate about, and that you would recommend anyway, because I never recommend anything that I don't personally use and you know, and benefit from in my business.
Yeah. So for you, your main sponsor now is Infusionsoft, and is that a new relationship, or is that?
No, actually, they've been a good sponsor over the years, and you know, I mentioned about relaunching the show to them, and you know, they're very you know, I was actually one of their earliest customers, so we go way back. You know, again, that good relationship, and it is the tool that I use in my business, and it's a great tool, so it's a very natural fit.
Absolutely. Okay, I want to show something, and I love that. I know you're an avid tester as well. It's not just that you're this funny guy who makes great videos. You're a nitty gritty in the trenches marketer. I notice you're testing new calls to action with your hilarious kitten. So I want to show, I happen to still have up the one you had yesterday. And it just cracked me up. subscribe to the show, I'll send you this kitten. And it says, I can't really send you the kitten. I tried it and she keeps climbing out of the box, but I will send you some nifty marketing tips that will help you build a better business. Enter your mail in the box above. And I notice I don't have it, but today it's subscribe to the show or the kitten gets it.
Yeah, that's it.
Which is, but I love it because it's so funny because of the kitten's expression, right?
Right. You know, this kind of like, oh, you know, like deer in the headlights. So, yeah, and just to give you a bit of background on this, you know, good humor, as you know, stems from truth and reality. And so I genuinely love cats. This is my kitten. You know, I've grown up with cats. I you know, they have such personality. And so, you know, and when I was thinking about this opt-in, which is from Sumo Me actually, which I absolutely love because it's not a squeeze page. Someone can just click on the little thing at the bottom there to, you know, to bypass it. So it's the best of both worlds because it forces them to consider what you're offering, but it doesn't force them to subscribe in order to get the content, which I'm a big believer in. I'm not a fan of traditional squeeze pages, in most circumstances. So, but with the kitten, you know, that line there about, you know, she keeps climbing out of the box. I mean, that was from a real experience where she climbed into a box and, you know, it was this little cardboard box and I filmed it actually. I put the flaps over it and her head kept on popping up out of it. And it was the funniest thing. So, you know, that true incident sprung to mind when I was thinking about, you know, what would be a cute thing that's very, relevant to my personality. And, you know, in everything that I do, I want to kind of be a little bit unexpected, a little bit surprising and also different, you know, just bring something different to the table. And so that's what was the, the story behind that.
It's so funny. I mean, it sets the tone right away. And it's just a beautiful image. It looks great. It's just all personality, man. And again, you know, just a lesson here for all the copywriters watching this. And Dean Jackson's a great teacher of this too. Mm-hmm. So much of what makes it good is what you're not saying, what's not there, right? You're not desperate to list your credentials. You're not desperate to talk about all of the people who have found it valuable. It couldn't be more simple and clear what you're about and what you're offering people. And no one can get upset at this at this squeeze page.
No, and that's the other thing is, you know, humor is a great kind of, it diffuses the fact that you're asking for something and you know, and to be honest, that's, you know, I'm glad you mentioned that too, because again, another fundamental for me in the design of the show is that if I can entertain people, which is number one priority, and include the education component in that, it's the whole right brain, left brain thing where I can get people into a state where they're very receptive for my message. And it's not a contrived thing. It's not a tactic. It is just something that is, you know, it's a natural psychology, if you like, you know, that's good to understand.
Sure.
Just like music, you know, if you leverage music in the right way, you can break down the barrier to resistance, you know. And it's such a big thing. I mean, it really frustrates me that more people don't understand this online, because, you know, there's got all these millions of people. They all want someone to buy their product or service. And yeah, they're all doing the same thing, which is just, you know, a very kind of aggressive, you know, buy my stuff, you know, effectively. And they're not providing value. They're not engaging, and they're not entertaining. And so I've found, you know, from the big breakthrough for me was managing a celebrity in England who was is a fantastic entertainer. And I learned from him years ago that people just fundamentally want to be entertained. You know, most people's lives are dull and boring. You know, think of the cubicle worker. you know, 9 to 5, 5 days a week. They live for the weekends. They just want to be entertained. And so, you know, but that applies to all of us. If we can entertain, we can, you know, break down that barrier of resistance so that we can incorporate an educational message and a marketing message to the extent where people actually enjoy the process, you know? So that's the fundamental.
Yeah. And with your stuff, and again, you know, it's the difference. It's Jesse Elder talks about the, you know, the lighthouse versus the tugboat, right? You know, if you're a lighthouse, if you're a beacon, people are just drawn to you, and you know, you don't have to be constantly going, come on with me, I promise this will be great. You know, and all your stuff from the squeeze and down below, it's all just, here it is, it's quality stuff. Let's get going, get engaged. It makes perfect sense for me to click on the video, start watching. And like I said, you know, there's no constant call to action. Hey, if you'd like me to coach you on how to make your own videos, or, you know, you're just doing your thing, man. And to me, that's the most powerful thing you can do is, you know, demonstrate the value in the product itself, and people will naturally want to learn from you.
One thing that is useful for our world of, you know, the copywriting and testing too, is that I did put a lot of effort into the thought and design of that site, you know, based on experience and the track record of, you know, trying different things. And whereas most WordPress and blog sites have multiple column layouts, I decided to go for a single column layout, because one of the big irritations that I have with a lot of sites is that there's so much going on, it's not clear what you should do. And so I've really tried with this site to make it obvious. You know, for example, when someone lands on the page, there's the little message at the top there that only new viewers see, new to this website, and it says go to this page to bring you up to speed in the little box there. And that page is called the Start Here page, and it tells people, you know, it says, you know, welcome, and it kind of gives them, like, gets them up to speed. And so, you know, there's not like these 10 different options. You could do this, you could do this, you could do this. You know, I guide them through the process. You can see there's step 1, be the first to know about the nifty new episodes. I create trainings for you almost every week. It tells them what they're going to get. And my number one priority, if they haven't opted in, is for them to opt in, because once they opt in, I can continue the relationship.
Right.
So then I guide them through the rest of the things that I want them to do, but it's step by step. So, you know, again, if you have a website with, you know, all of these different options on the page, all of these different menu items, a confused visitor tends to not do anything, or they do the thing that you don't want them to do. And so that's why I chose that layout, is I guide them through the process. And again, if they're a new viewer, they're going to watch the first episode, which explains more about me. It tells my story, and it tells them, you know, essentially what the show is about. So that episode is like you just saw there, it's embedded in that page.
Yeah. You know, it reminds me, Andrew, when Jimmy Fallon started the Tonight Show. I was really blown away by what he did. Now, here's a guy, there wasn't a bigger news story that week, of course, right? All the stuff that happened with Leno. Everybody knew by that point who he was and that he was taking over the Tonight Show. But instead of trying to do some big blown out, you know, mind-blowing production a la the opening of the Oscars, which you know, if Billy Crystal does it, it's brilliant. When other people try to do it, Billy Crystal does it, often just feels awkward and falls flat. He walked out onto the stage and he said, you know, my name's Jimmy, and I'm incredibly humbled to be standing here right now. And here's what's going to happen every night when you tune in, you know, just as in, you know, for everybody, you could just feel like everybody go, okay, we're okay. You know, like all the people who might have been skeptical of who's this young guy and the show's not going to be for me anymore. he just put all those people at ease and said, just come join me. Just give me a chance. You know, I'm going to be figuring it out, but we got a lot of cool stuff planned. And it reminds me of what you did with your show. Again, 7 years. And now you watch this latest episode and you're basically, in a sense, starting over and saying, you know, here I am, here's the history. Use some really funny stuff about what's changed in 7 years, things you predicted that actually came true, that there'd be 11 new Starbucks, at least 11 new Starbucks opened up. And but you're basically just introducing yourself all over again, right? I mean, you know, how conscious was that effort, and you know, how much were you thinking about brand new audience as opposed to the existing audience?
Well, it was the opportunity for a fresh start. You know, I rebranded, I tweaked the name of the show, and you know, I wanted to serve two purposes. I wanted to remind the previous viewers about, you know, who I am, and you know, in some sense my credibility, and also just, you know, more that connection that's really important, is the feeling that they know, like, and trust me. Because it's one thing for me to just plow in with some marketing tips and advice and so on, but you know, it takes it to another level if they feel like they know me, right? And that's really important. So, you know, it's a balance, and that's another reason why the humor plays a very helpful part, is because, you know, even for those of people that do know my story, there were new elements in there. And of course, with the humor, you know, even if they've heard it many times before, I tried to kind of make it so that, you know, it would still be enjoyable to you know, to see it again. Yeah. Rather than sort of eye rolling, oh, here we go again. So yeah, it was a very, very conscious decision, and you know, I wanted to kind of have that precedent, and also a tool that I could use in the archive, as it were, on that Start Here page, so that people can reference back to it. And you know, for those new viewers, they'll always have that same consistency, understand, because it's a good thing for people to resonate with, and say, you know, to see that, you know, I was nothing special and am nothing special. It's just, you know, and so I want that relatability, and I also want them to feel like they know me. I want them to feel like, you know, hey, you know, we have this connection, we have a bond, and that's the way you have to do it. You have to tell people, you know, some personal things about your background.
Yep. So if someone's watching now and they're saying, all right, you know, you're right, I can't deny that video would help me engage more, but they're just not sure where to start. What's the minimum viable product for getting a respectable piece of video out in front of your audience?
Well, what I tell people is there's no easier way to start than to get a YouTube account with a webcam. And, you know, most Mac computers have a webcam built into the screen. A lot of laptops do now as well. But, you know, even if you buy one, Logitech or something like that, you know, $30, you're up and running. And content is king. There's never going to be a substitute for good quality information. And so, you know, a requirement would be for you to be passionate about the topic. You do not need to be an expert. You just need to be passionate. Again, I always tell people, you know, what was Oprah an expert in? She was really an expert in interviewing, ultimately, because, you know, it was the guests who were the experts. So even, you know, a lot of people have this kind of low self-esteem or, you know, trouble believing that they have a right to put themselves out there. Yeah. It's not about that. You know, it's about your passion. If you are genuinely interested in a topic, just start talking about it. You know, even if you're on a journey, tell people about that journey. Say, well, you know, I'm just starting out with this. You know, here's a few things that I've been learning that may be helpful for you. It's, you know, that's a good thing. You'll attract.
Like inside a Copy Chief, we have Lizzie and Steve, a couple from Australia who, you know, are seeking to start, you know, an info business. And they started with, you know, promoting products on ClickBank. And so every step of the way, they said, here's where we are. We're not experts yet. We're making mistakes. We're learning. But it's, you know, fascinating and really insightful to read what they're encountering along the way. because how often in other industries, people are very reluctant to share the heartache,
And the interesting thing too about where we're at in time is, excuse me, is more than ever before, people, I hope I make it, more than ever before, people want real and approachable and down to earth. I talk about in this latest episode. I talk about the fact that I got into massive debt. And so the days of this kind of like slick guru who's unapproachable and who just does everything right all the time, that's not what people want. They want to feel like you're in this together. We're on a journey together. I'm sharing with you. I mean, who'd have thought that people would be sharing their exact income on their blogs, which is a kind of a trend at the moment,
right?
It's crazy. I mean, it's incredible. But this kind of openness and transparency and so on, and just being real, just be true to who you are. There's no need to put on a facade or try to fake it till you make it. I don't believe in that. Just be yourself. I mean, actually, excuse me,
medic.
I'm an introvert, believe it or not.
I do believe it, just because I know that most entertainers are.
But I am very passionate about the topic. I enjoy helping people. And so, it is kind of, it's putting myself out there, and it does take energy to do that. And particularly if I speak on stage. But the rewards are there, to see the responsiveness of the audience and so on. So, even as an introvert, there's great satisfaction in sort of making that. What I tell people is the character that they see on screen in my show is really an exaggeration of who I am. I'm basically amping it up, to be, because the real me is a lot more boring.
But, oh, come on. You're that witty all the time, aren't you? I mean, I can imagine.
Well, I would love to be.
You must be the funniest thing imaginable.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, we're having a sensible conversation here. Right, so, right. Yeah, but just, to be an exaggeration. Interestingly, the best actors in the world, if you look at the mega stars of acting, that is their secret, is the roles that they play are an exaggeration of their true self. If you look at someone like a Tom Hanks, for example, great example. If you interact with Tom, on a one-to-one basis, as you do, that's the characters that you see him play, the kind of mild-mannered, that is who he is. He's just, he exaggerates it to different extents in the roles that he plays. And so it's very true to who he is. It's a very natural thing. He's not creating these roles that are just so, polar opposite to who he is.
Right.
And that's an interesting thing that you'll notice with the biggest names in Hollywood, that's a commonality.
Yeah. They stand that way, even if they're super intense, like Sean Penn or something. It's I mean, barring Spicoli, which was like his breakthrough thing, it's been a pretty brooding, intense affair for him, which you can imagine is pretty accurate to who he is. So a couple questions here, and then I have one. But Wendy would love it if your kitten could come share the screen with you.
Actually, I would love that too, but I'm in my office, which is different to my house. So
okay, oh,
the
well.
kitten's back at the house.
We'll never know if there indeed is a kitten or if that was a rented kitten.
Oh, trust me, I got hundreds of photos I could show you.
So Ross wants to know, how do you think about putting together a show bumper? Okay, yeah, great. Yours is very memorable.
So, again, that's one of the areas where technology has made it a lot easier than before. What I did, there's two strategies actually that work very well. One is look at shows that that you enjoy. Maybe you see a show and you think, oh, that's a great, I really like what they did there. Well, oftentimes the name of the animator will be in the credits. So, just Google their name and find them on LinkedIn or Facebook and contact them.
Good idea.
or just contact the the creator of the show and say, hey, I love what you did with that credits or the bumpers. Who did those? That's one thing. Also, there's a resource online called what is it? It's a website that has it's on the tip of my tongue. Let me see if I can bring it up. Has all these templates.
It's called Fiverr.
Not Fiverr. As you can get them done on Fiverr. The only challenge with Fiverr is that you'll tend to get very similar looking templates as other people.
Even with like 99 designs, I've been frustrated.
Videohive.net.
Oh, Video Hive. Okay.
Let's put it in the.
Let's do that.
Here.
Videohive.net. That's all things video production that you can hire experts there. Yeah, freelancers.
It's not hiring experts. What it is it's kind of like pre-done templates. So most of these animations are done in a software called After Effects from Adobe. Yeah. And so if you go to Videohive and click on After Effects templates, you can type in keywords or you can browse different styles. And you can just preview them. And so they're pre-created templates. And what you do is you buy the template for like, $15, $20. And then you would hire an animator who knows how to use that software because it's very advanced software. That's not the site, by the way.
That's weird.
Videohive.
That's what I went and it
.net.
Oh, .net, sorry.
Yeah. Videohive.net. Yeah, there you go. So if you click on the white bar, After Effects project files, up and left.
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay, cool. So it's popular items.
Openers would be for a show opener. So yeah, if you just click on or hover.
Let's just go to openers here.
And you can sort them by popular, and you can also search within keywords. If you click on any one of those, in fact, if you can just hover over it. And so you can see that it says place your photo or video here, and you can change the text and so on. Some of them have music too.
Right.
It's an awesome resource. I mean, the thing about this is a lot of work. The only reason that they're cheap is because they're selling a lot of them, because to create what these animations are, if you were just paying for it as a unique thing, it would cost you many hundreds of dollars, even over $1,000. Yeah. So once you buy the template, you would go to a site like Upwork.com and search for Adobe After Effects person, and then just send them the template and tell them what you want it to be changed to. Like give them the photos that you want in there, or say, here's what I want the text to be changed to. So it's a great way to very quickly get up and running with something that's very high quality.
Fantastic. That's great. Cool. So
it's a nifty resource, isn't it?
Yeah. What's that?
It's a nifty resource.
It sure is. Yeah. Upwork in Videohive. Very cool. You think is After Effects something the common man could, like, if you can figure out Photoshop, you can figure out After Effects, or is it?
No, it's much more advanced, honestly. Not that you couldn't. I mean, if you are a Photoshop whiz, then you'll definitely have a leg up. But it has more in common with Adobe Premiere, which is the editing application, than Photoshop. And the thing is, like, for maybe $50, depends on how complex the template is. But it's not going to cost you a lot to get a template adapted. So, is it really worth learning a software like that if you're only going to need it, to use it once or twice? So sure. That's the way I look at it.
Okay. So I want to ask you, and thanks for the questions, everybody. Just quickly about comedy writing, a shared passion of ours. And you mentioned that you're really loving this new book, which focuses on late night comedy writing.
Yeah. I've been working my way through the books that you suggested, which are really good. And this is the one that I'm on at the moment. And it's awesome. It's comedy writing for, like I said, it's a big, thick book. And it was that I started studying comedy. It's everything that I've done over the years has traditionally been just very much who I am, and sort of trial and error. A lot of it actually, a lot of the fine tuning has come about from speaking a lot on stage and actually getting live audience feedback. And I can't tell you how many times, I mean, this is weird. This is a weird thing, but after every talk I do now, I get at least 5 or 6 people come up to me and say, you should do stand-up, which fills me with fear. But I think
Why? Because now you know that you have to actually try it at least once.
Well, it's like I never would have thought in a million years that I would ever, do something like that. But like I say, I mean, my original background was behind the camera, but it's enjoyable. It's fun to make people laugh and to have, to have them smile. So this book, it's difficult to summarize because there's so much detail in it. But I think the biggest, I mean, there's a number of lessons that I've got from it. One is in designing, or creating comedic elements, which, first of all, I think it has to be true. You have to be true to yourself. You have to be. It can't be contrived. It can only be enhanced. So, right. I think it should be based around something that's true. Either an experience that you've had or a news event. It should be concise. Shorter is better. The topic should be interesting and ideally provoke some type of emotional reaction, whether it's surprise or shock or something that's weird or disgusting or whatever. And the punchline definitely has to be surprising. You're leading people down a path and then you're veering off suddenly at the end. And one of the techniques that I am working on from this book is to, once you have a topic, is to look for two kind of like two keys or two things that you could associate together and play off those two things. Trying to think, in my episode, I talked about when I was getting into video production, I used the same camera as Michael J. Fox. Do you remember that bit?
Yeah, I sure do. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was kind of like the setup, and that's true. That was absolutely true. And so, I was thinking, well, what are the key elements in there? The commonality between, Michael J. Fox and myself, this, British character. People wouldn't put us together, obviously.
Right.
But I thought, well, how could that be turned into something humorous? And the idea came to me that I've just said that I use the exact same video camera as Michael J. Fox. If we were to take that literally, that's where the punchline came from. He walked off set and handed me the camera and said, "Go make movies," or something like that. I forget the exact word I used, but I was looking for the association and a way to make something, way to make those come together in a surprising way. There's that veering off.
Right.
And one example from the book, which I love, is I think it was a bit that was used by Jimmy Fallon, and it was a company in North Carolina is selling a $60 IQ test that people can give their dogs. So that's obviously it's a true statement. It's also inherently surprising, and it kind of naturally, makes people think, that's pretty crazy, right? That's crazy. So if you take that to the stage further, well, how can you reinforce that idea that this is crazy? And the punchline was, if you spend $60 on a dog IQ test, maybe you should take the IQ test. So, again, it's looking for those, elements that you can bring together and then take it off in a direction that is that the audience didn't expect, and that's, adds that kind of, nice brief element of
Yeah.
satire.
In that case, I almost feel like a joke like that, a punchline like that, is sort of confirming the hint that you dropped.
Yes, exactly. It's tapping into a thought process.
Could,
Um,
yeah, because
but it
the
very kind of very
the
helpfully.
premise in itself is almost enough for the joke, because like you said,
Yes.
there's incongruity there. There's a lot of
Right.
elements of a complete joke. Just
Yeah.
like you said, it's a true statement, and now everybody's just waiting, and it's sort of a softball, right? You don't have to
Right.
go out of your way to think whose dog, what's the twist here. It's just
that one definitely taps into a thought process, like the question that people have in their minds when they hear the first part is, who would do that?
Right.
Who would,
exactly
what type
right.
of person?
Or they're a sucker for falling for it, like
Yes.
they're so crazy about their dog. One other one I mentioned earlier, I really liked was, you had, because it's such a great premise that you could fill in with any amount of punchlines you wanted, where you said, 7 years ago you didn't have you didn't have the perfect ability to predict the future. However, two things I did predict did come true, right? Yeah. And so now, I mean, there's the perfect setup. The timing's right there, and you could have said, did you have a whole list of optional punchlines there?
It was things that sprung to mind, and part of the reason I did that too, to explain it on a deeper level, is that I very much want people to, it was kind of an opportunity to be self-deprecating, not, I don't want people to view me as this, unapproachable guru. I want people to kind of, feel like, because there's a little bit of silliness in there, and yeah, it was basically an opportunity to have that self-deprecating moment where, I'm, how could I possibly predict the future? It's not me. So it was just a fun thing to be able to, and those were things that sprung to mind that were kind of outrageous, that were also relatable. And so, I put something in there for, since I am British, I put something in there that would be very much identifiable by Brits. Because again, I'm very conscious of the worldwide audience. Although majority of the audiences are Americans, a big chunk are British and Australian. And so that was an opportunity, and by design, to reference something that Brits would relate to more than any other country, because there's this great feeling in what I said was that England wouldn't. My prediction was that England wouldn't win the World Cup, which was relating to soccer. Right. And so there's, with Brits, there's this very frustration that the game really traces back to England as like the national game, and yet so they come so close and don't win so often. And so it was that was a very good opportunity to embrace the British audience. And then with Starbucks, again, everybody relates to Starbucks, and everybody agrees that Starbucks are everywhere, and there's the joke about Starbucks opposite Starbucks. And so that was an opportunity to be very understated. That was a piece of exaggeration humor, that Starbucks would open up at least 11 new stores.
As a rule, do you always back up your punchlines visually?
I like to, because it's a very visual show. I mean, the medium is visual. Interestingly, I'd love to say that all these details are planned out, but some of it is planned out, some of it evolved. That's the truth. And that was the situation with that piece. What I found was, I actually do test showing, and I gauge their reaction. And when I tried it both ways, the adding the visuals greatly enhanced it. Actually, it really, maximize the comedy impact of those particular moments.
Yeah.
So I'll try, it's interesting. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes the visual is a distraction to the punchline. So I always try and kind of, again, it's testing. But it's an interesting thing. I'm still learning it, to be honest.
Sure.
what works and what doesn't.
Yeah, and a lot of it's a feeling. I mean, I'm sure you
It is.
do what I typically do is I'll shoot the video, and then when I'm kind of in editing, that's when I'll go, need something here, or
yes.
And sometimes somebody else will
definitely
mention, it'd be hilarious if you, like in my latest video, I mentioned about Facebook. Not the funniest line I've ever written, but I'm sort of dismissing Facebook as a place to start a community, right? And I say, Facebook's great if you want to see pictures of your neighbor's dog in a sweater, but when it comes to writing your perfect message, in my sister-in-law, who's a video producer, did a version for me where she pops up a hilarious picture of a dog in a sweater. And I was like, wow, it's so much funnier with that.
It's
split second.
It's very relatable too. Yeah, no, that's great. That's a perfect example because it you're leading people down the path of visualization. But then when you hand it to them on a silver platter, if the visual perfectly matches up with what you're talking about, that definitely, and actually a good, I'm very influenced by Stephen Colbert and Jon Stewart. And, that's why they have the little box over their shoulder is, consistently that will enhance there's very few exceptions to them actually using that because it enhances the humor.
It's funny. Yeah. And I also love, the last thing I want to point out, and we'll wrap up, and I appreciate you spending this hour with us, Andrew, big time.
Sure. Yeah. Pleasure.
A lot of times you'll drop in hilarious things. You have this particular style of writing on the image with an arrow, and so there's punchlines coming even when you're saying something a little more straightforward, like the one of what'd you say, men in business suits standing on pillars on the beach or something,
on a column on the beach.
Yeah. It's just great because it's quick enough that you can read it. It's like a billboard, right? It's just like that was hilarious, and just good, man.
Well, again, it's that's a different, that's a complementary technique where I'm not a big fan of comedy that is where you have to kind of explain the punchline. I mean, interestingly, if you look at like Jay Leno and Deno, was much more of the was you have topic in order to get the humor, and I'm more on the Letterman school of thought where I would prefer to for things to be subtle and because my humor is very dry. And actually, if you read the comments below the video, there were people saying things like, Obama has not saved America, and which was a reference to something that I said. And, the people, of course, that don't know me or don't get my humor, they think that I'm making a political statement, which is not at all the case. I'm completely, I think all politicians are as bad as each other.
Right.
But, so I would prefer it to be that the subtlety there than to be sort of in your face. That's just my style. And so I kind of get a kick out of, I get a kick out of the fact that, some of it goes over people's heads. Actually.
Me too. Yeah, I almost feel like I'm failing if a couple people just don't get it.
Right.
I did a thing for one of my business coaches, James Schramko. I made it. He asked me for a testimonial. And I did this whole piece of satire where I showed where I used to live before I signed up with James's coaching, and it was a trash can. And then I got to move into the dumpster, and I'm like, you're just waiting. Some people are like, wow, that's an incredible story. Or they write to me and go, man, I never knew that. I'm so glad you made it through. You should have called me. And I was just waiting for the one person to say, you know what? Some people really do live in trash cans, and that's insensitive. And it's like, finally somebody did, and I was like so pleased.
that's the thing is you can't worry about offending people because there will always be people that are offended. And actually, it's a good thing to polarize the audience, because if you just try and be too vanilla, and this applies to copy too, if you're too vanilla, if you don't make a bold statement and really have intense personality to it, it just gets lost. And but when you do, then you're going to find your crowd, you're going to find your readers or your viewers. Because they resonate with it, they naturally love it. You're taking a position, and basically saying, I don't want you, but I love you. And that's what I do with the show. It's not going to be everybody's cup of tea. I mean, there was a few, real kind of people that were left comments, which I laugh about, but that absolutely like, oh, this was awful. The guy's voice irritated me, and and so on. But at the same time, there's the people that say, I love the British accent, and and so that's what counts. Is I only want the people that naturally resonate. It's by design. I want to eliminate that don't resonate with my bold choices and approach.
Yeah. There was some stat, I don't know how genuine it was, but somebody said that people that claim to love Howard Stern listen on average of an hour a day, and people that claim to hate him listen for 2 hours a day.
Yeah, it's a good stat. Yeah.
So,
interesting.
All right, Andrew, man, this was great. I really appreciate it. We got a podcast episode coming up too that I know we covered a lot of other stuff. And congrats on the new site. Can't wait to see all the videos coming our way, man. And thanks for being a member of Copy Chief. I know you've been in there mixing it up.
Oh, it's an awesome community. I mean, I told you this yesterday. It's rare to see such a high quality and active community, and the infrastructure that you've created. Genuinely, I mean, I'm blown away with it. I mean, I'm so in awe of what you've created, because there are a lot of I mean, I noticed the details, and a lot of details that I know of you must have put tremendous amount of thought into. So bravo, it's great.
Well, yeah, it takes a village like anything. I mean, it's really
it's really a phenomenal thing.
Yeah, the people that have come in and now that work with me intimately, Ross and Marcin and all the members. Some of them I mentioned up top. There's just that's what's great about a community, is there's no way one person can see it all. And people make suggestions, and I go, oh, of course, that's a way better way to do that.
That's it. No, very, very, very true.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I enjoyed doing the podcast with you, and you're actually going to be featured on one of my episodes coming up. I think it's at the end of September, but I'll be sure to let you know so you can share it with everybody, and that'll be a fun one too.
Awesome. Thank you, man. Okay. Well, I appreciate it, Andrew. I'm going to let you go. How do I just free you here without hanging up? I'm not sure how to do that, but let's see, presenters.
You just have to stay on all day.
Yeah, just hang with me. Well, I just want to quickly ask, I don't know if anybody has a question. If anybody, I want to make sure I get to anybody, but if anybody hanging with us has a question about Fast Wins Copy Course or anything else in Copy Chief, let me know. And I figured out how to do it. Okay, we're good. Thanks, Andrew. Appreciate it, brother. And I'm not seeing any questions pop up. So if you got them, send them now. Yeah, can we get a copy of his glasses? Dr. Copy, like, yeah. I know, I need some thicker rimmed glasses. It's time for me to upgrade my look. So, all right, no big questions. All right, I'm sure everybody enjoyed this episode, and it'll be up in the replays for those of you who couldn't be here live. So thanks again, Andrew. Thank you all for being here, and we will see you inside Copy Chief. Till next, I won't be here next week. Just a quick note, I'm off to Austin, Texas on a sort of a mind expansion mastermind retreat with Jesse Elder. If you guys know Jesse, look him up on Facebook or go to jesseelder.com. Really cool guy. I've met him a few times. He really impressed me. And so I'm going to go spend 3 days with Jesse and let him impart some of his great wisdom unto me, which will only help us all grow. So won't see you next week here, but I'll be in the forum, of course, and then we'll do another Chief Chat 2 weeks hence. Thanks, guys. I'll see you inside. Bye.